It's time to get to know the enemy, Auburn versus Vanderbilt edition.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie Five. It's game day. Get up, get moving. Auburn's got a big game today. Got to win this one in front of a bunch of recruits. Keep the momentum going to build something towards the end of the season as they take on the Vanderbilt Commodores. It's going to be a big one. It's early game, so you're a little bit worried about how can the crowd get into it. I know it's the first game back after a long homestand, or a long road trip. So you're hoping that they bring the energy because we need this one. Auburn needs this one bad. So before we jump into who Vanderbilt is and what they're going to try to do today, let's give a shout out to mybookie.ag. That line just crept towards in Auburn's favor all week. Opened at 5.5. I'm anxious to see what it closes at if some late money comes in on Vanderbilt, but I think it's still hovering around that 7.5 point margin right now. So if you feel confident on the Tigers, sign up today, use that coupon code, get that double up bonus, and then dump all that double up deposit on the Auburn Tigers and see what happens. They got parlays, teasers, anything you can imagine, any way you want to bet, they have it. So check them out today, mybookie.ag. Like I said, Auburn takes on the Vanderbilt Commodores today, and I just want to talk about their team. Obviously, they're a scrappy bunch. They've gone through a lot. They've had some highs. They've had some lows. Obviously, you had the big game against Alabama that you win. You beat Kentucky. You've had more conference wins this year than you've had since Clark Lee, I guess, has been at Vanderbilt. They're 2-2 in the conference, 5-3 overall. Their next win would put them bowl eligibility. So obviously they're going to come in ready to go, and they have a tough little stretch. They play Auburn, South Carolina, LSU, and Tennessee to close out the season. So not just an easy little stretch of games to try to get to that sixth win to get them bowl eligible. So obviously they're going to be very, very hungry, very, very hungry today. And they're going to be a frustrating team, I think, to watch. It's going to be a frustrating game because that's just the style of football that they're going to be successful with. It's going to be it's just going to be a very frustrating game. Just to give you an example, they're 11th in the country in time of possession. They are going to hold the ball on offense as long as they possibly can. They want to go 3.5 yards a play. If they can go 3.5 yards a play and get first downs on 3rd and 3 by 0.5 yard and do that multiple times over the stretch of the game, multiple times in a drive. If they can just do that all the way down the field, that would be their most ideal game plan. If they could average 3.5 yards a play every single play, they'd be ecstatic because, and we're going to talk about this later on in the show, but that gets people out of their comfort zone. It gets teams out of their comfort zone on the way they call defense. They get desperate, so they may try to dial up a big play. Gotta make a turnover. Gotta create a sack. Gotta create a tackle for loss. And then they get undisciplined, get over aggressive, and the next thing you know, it's a 20, 25-yard gain. That's just who they are. They're middle of the pack or lower in like every offensive category you can look at in the conference. Like if you just went off of statistics, you're like, wow, they're not that good. They're average or below in total offense, passing offense, rushing offense, everything, scoring offense, but they just get it done. It's kind of crazy. They protect the ball. They only had 3 interceptions all year and only 2 fumbles. 5 turnovers all year in 8 games, and they've played some pretty good teams. I mean, obviously you played Alabama, you played Virginia Tech, you've had some really good games. Kentucky, Missouri, you've played some really good games, and you just haven't given it up. You haven't given the ball up. They grind it, and they don't give up a ton of sacks. Most of that's based off of their offense. They're not really a drop back passing offense, and typically when they do drop back and pass, it's very few receivers. It's off a ton of play action, and they have a ton of guys in their blocking. So it's you want to try to make them make bad decisions, but they just don't. You want to try to get them into bad plays, negative plays, but they just don't have those. If it's 3rd and 2 or 4th, if it's 3rd or 4th and 3 or less, they're probably going to go for it most of the time, and they're probably and it's going to be tough to keep them from getting it, just because of the way this triple option ish style offense runs. It's going to be frustrating. Auburn's going to have to be patient and play within themselves. Otherwise, you'll end up making bad decisions or being too aggressive, and then they'll hurt you. The heart and soul of the team is Deigo Pavia. The dude is just a killer. I don't know what to say. Transfer from New Mexico State. He killed Auburn last year. He's not the biggest. He's not the fastest. He's not the most physically impressive. He doesn't have the biggest arm. He doesn't have the most yards passing per game. He doesn't have the most TDs. He doesn't have the most anything. But he just gets it done. He is just a scrappy dude, and he's a killer. Now, he's a little bit dinged up, so I'm interested to see. I'm almost wondering if that's a little bit why the line action is what it is. He carries the ball 16 times a game. Like he's a big part of their running attack, and it ain't like, and he's taking tough yards too. It's not, 5-6 yards and slide. It's 2 yards here, 3 yards here, just getting pounded over and over again, and he gets up and does it again, and then he'll turn around and throw a dime on you. The dude is just scrappy, but how healthy is he? Because if he is hobbled a little bit, that really puts a wrench in their game plan. Because I don't think he's going to be able to sit back there. I don't think this offense is really designed for him to be able to sit back there and pick you apart. It's got to be based off this option, all these option looks, running him, pitching, underneath stuff, play action. Like it's all based off of that. But you know what? His clutch factor is just through the roof. So if he's able to go, you're going to have to be prepared for him to make some big plays, because that's just who he is. He's just a gamer, man. He's just a great fun college quarterback. Probably doesn't have any NFL aspirations, but he's just a really scrappy, good, small school college quarterback that can hurt you. They do have a little running back, Cedric Alexander, wears number 28. He's smaller, not mega explosive. But he's just good in that offense. He knows how to lull you to sleep, get you those 3 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, and then when you over pursue or one guy misses their assignment, boom, he'll pop you for 10, 15 yards. That's just who he is. Doesn't have a ton of yards per carry, but again, I think that's mostly predicated off the offense. They don't need tons of yards of carry. They just need him to have over 3 yards of carry, and then he's going to be dangerous. He's going to be perfect for that offense. So he's definitely going to be one that's going to get a lot of touches, especially if Deigo is hobbled. So he's small. He's 5'9", under 200 pounds, but he just sort of slithers his way through there, hides behind guys, and makes, gets those little chunk yards over and over and over again. And it's just frustrating. It just ends up frustrating, I think, defenses to no end. The guy that they run their offense through from a passing perspective, they're the guy that really opens up this passing game is Eli Stowers. He's their senior tight end. Where's number 9? He's actually a transfer from New Mexico State. All the passing game runs through him. He's got over 500 yards receiving. Last year, he actually had a pretty big game against Auburn. He had over 13. He had 13 touches. He had a bunch of rushes in the rush game as well. He had a bunch of carries, 13 total touches against Auburn last year, and scored a touchdown. He had 6 catches for 113 yards versus Alabama. Just gashed them. I mean, they couldn't do anything with him. He's going to be a matchup problem for Auburn, I think. And we'll talk about this a little bit on the keys to the game, but I'm not really sure how Auburn handles him. Do you put a linebacker on him? Our linebackers have not been great in coverage this year. Do you bring a safety down? Do you put in a bigger corner? Is this a Terrence Love special? Do you see a little bit of Terrence Love in this game to be able to match up with him? I don't know. We'll have to see. There's a lot of stuff that you could do, but Eli Stowers is one. He's a dude. He's good, and he can play. And they're going to go to him. They're going to go to him often. So definitely, they have 2 other receivers that they're part of the game plan, but they're not like super difference makers like Eli Stowers is. So definitely going to have to watch him because he's the guy for this offense as far as their go-to receiving threat for sure. So let's switch over to defense. Before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to Ford Stokes with Active Wealth Management. I don't care if you have savings. I don't care if you have a 401k. I don't care what you have going on. I don't care if you got your Acorn account on your phone. Ford needs to be the guy to look over it just one time with you. A custom portfolio analysis, absolutely free, just to make sure you're not paying crazy fees. You're doing things to protect yourself versus the IRS, and you're taking advantage of products that you may not even realize you should be taking advantage of. Just basically make sure your portfolio is performing at the optimal level, risk-free. Make a friend at the same time. Tell them War Eagle. Tell them we sent you. Ford Stokes with Active Wealth Management. Let's switch over to the defense. Look, there's not a ton to talk about on their defense, if I'm being quite frank. There's just nothing flashy about it. But their defense is successful based off of their offense's success. Their statistics are eerily similar from a total defense, passing defense, rushing defense. Their statistical numbers are very similar as far as where they line up with the rest of the SEC as their offensive numbers. They're just middle of the pack or lower in every single category. But where they succeed is when offenses start playing outside of themselves because Vanderbilt's held the ball so long. I talked about this on our Barn Takeover show. Alabama averaged over 8 yards per play against them. Honestly, gashed them. Explosive play after explosive play, but Alabama felt like they had to do that because Vanderbilt kept the ball forever on offense. That's their game. If they can keep the ball from you, it puts you in a position where you feel like you have to play. You play in a hurry. Maybe you have a game plan and you change away from it because, hey, we got to get possessions, especially if you get down 2 scores. If you were to somehow have a turnover and you get down 2 scores, 10-0, 14-3, something like that. If you get down 2 scores, then you really start freaking out a little bit on offense because if their offense is clicking, they're going to hold the ball. We're not going to get a bunch of chances. So you got to take advantage of the chances you get. So maybe you get outside of yourself a little bit. You've seen Auburn have success on the ground against Kentucky. If Vanderbilt gets the opening kickoff and you don't get the ball until 8 minutes to go in 8 or 7 minutes to go in the first quarter, do you stick to your game plan running the ball? Do you stick to your game plan of trying to not create bad down and distance, stay ahead of the chains? It's tough. That's how this defense hurts you. They have an interception per game, basically 8 interceptions in 8 games. And it's wild because if you look at their interceptions, it's like every single position on the defense has an interception. You got 2 safeties, 2 corners, a defensive lineman, an edge, a star safety. They don't turn over teams a ton, but it seems like they get that one turnover in a game. And then when you have an offense that does what they do, that makes things even much more worse, puts more pressure on your offense because, oh man, now we've given them an extra possession. They're going to have the ball for, 6 or 7 minutes. We're going to have to ramp it up. We're going to have to get really go when we get the ball back so we can try to make something happen. They don't get a ton of sacks. They're not a, just sack the quarterback every play type defense. They do have some guys that can make some plays, but overall, Auburn should be able to protect. You just don't have that game-changing defensive end edge player that's just a huge pass rushing threat. They don't have that guy. Again, that's how their defense works based off of their offensive success. The more time of possession, the more plays their offense can run, the better their defense stands a chance because they're scrappy enough to slow you down. So if they can make you make a mistake or make you play outside of yourself, then that's where they want to be. That's the game that they want to play. That's the game they want to play. So how does Auburn win this game? Okay. Offensively, Auburn needs to remember their identity. Remember what you have success with, and don't let what happens on the other side of the ball dictate how you call the game. Don't let their time of possession dictate the fact that, hey, you want to run the ball and you want to grind the clock as well. Don't let their first drive that lasts 7 or 8 minutes and ends in a field goal and you don't get the ball until 6 or 7 minutes in the first quarter. Don't let that change what your game plan going into this game. Feed Jarquez when it's appropriate. Take some shots, but don't get in a panicky mindset where you feel like you got to throw it down the field and you got to play hurry up. Just stay within yourself. I think if Auburn can stay within themselves, if Hugh can stay within himself play calling, I think they're going to be fine. It's going to be tough for them to just continue to line up every single play and be able to handle Jarquez pounding that Jarquez is going to give them, the pounding that this offensive line is going to give them in the run game. It's going to be hard for them over and over and over to take that. It was hard for Kentucky to take it over and over, and they ended up quitting. Honestly, made them quit at the end of the game. So I think that's the biggest thing, discipline and staying within yourself. Now, defense. The biggest matchup in this game is going to be Auburn's defense versus their offense. That's the most critical thing, and Auburn plays a lot of freshmen, okay? And this offense that they run, discipline is huge, okay? Knowing your assignment, knowing which man you have, understanding that if you come off your man, that could lead to a big play. Even if you're going to help a teammate, it's better to stick to your guy than it is to come off your guy to help make a play because there's a pitch, there's a throw behind you, there's this, there's that, there's a misdirection. There's something about this offense that they can make a play off of your bad decisions. So how does Auburn handle playing a bunch of freshmen, playing a offense that requires honestly a lot of it really requires more of a veteran mindset. So can those guys, it's not just I'm going to be more athletic than you. No, I got to be athletic, but I also got to be smart. I got to understand my assignment. I got to do everything that I'm supposed to do, know everything about it, because athletic ability, you can make up for missed assignments sometimes against offenses with athletic ability. Not this one. You got to know your assignment and you got to stick to it. So that's going to be key. Can Auburn handle playing a lot of young guys and still being able to, handle that assignment? So that's going to be number one. Number two, spying Pavia. Depending on how mobile he is, I think Auburn has a good advantage because you have some really athletic edge players that have the speed to be able to run with him. So, and the good thing is it's not the same. It doesn't have to be the same guy every time. So you can give him multiple looks. You can have Jalen McLeod. You can have DeMarcus Riddick. You can have Kieran Crawford. Those guys can spy him at different times. And then the offense doesn't necessarily have to know who that is every single time. They can't know. They probably can't know who that is every single time because you'll have some of these guys on the field at the same time as well. So I think Auburn has a slight advantage there because of the multiplicity you can show Deigo as far as having to, being able to spy him. So that's going to be a big key. And then I already mentioned it, and I don't have to go into it, a ton more, but playing within your side, playing within yourself on offense is massive. It's going to be massive. Stick to the plan. Stick to the plan, you win the game. Stick to the plan, you cover the spread. Stick to the plan. It may be a low-scoring game. The under may be the play. You may only have 6 total possessions in the whole game. Who cares? Stick to the plan, and you can beat this team. You can blow them out of the stadium, and you need to. You need to do it in front of the fans. Give them something fun to sort of continue this wave of momentum. Give something to the recruits. You got a big-time list of recruits in multiple classes, commits and uncommitted guys in the stands. Play within yourself and put this thing away. I think that's going to be the biggest key to the whole thing today. Play within yourself. So guys, I really appreciate it. Hope you travel. Hope you're traveling safe. Hope you have a great experience. Have fun. Be on the lookout. We'll be out there meandering around, be around Tiger Walk, be around the stadium. So if you see me, say hello, and I'll be with my fam, and we'll be looking for a big win. So I really appreciate it, guys. If you like this video, like it. If you like this channel, subscribe to it. Follow me on Twitter, _Charlie_5. We'll be on a little bit later this evening with a reaction show, probably live after the game, and we'll break it down. So, guys, thanks again for listening. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.